Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Dilly, and in today's video I'll be walking you through the part 3 of our Knotless Braids series. So if you haven't watched our part 1 and our part 2 on our channel, which is the quantity of hair you need for small knotless braids, and the part 2, which is how to part for small knotless braid, I would highly recommend you go back to those videos and watch them. Those videos lay a foundation of what I'm going to show you today, which is the actual braiding process of small knotless braids. So let's get right into it. So the first thing you have to consider when doing small size knotless braid is the density of the client's hair. So some people may have a lot of hair and some people may have less hair, very thin hair. If the client has a lot of hair, you need to make sure that the amount of extension you're adding is not much. So you need to add less extension that you would normally add so that you get that small size you're looking for. We'll be using our baby girl Zay for this series. Zay's hair is medium thickness, so sometimes the person's hair you're braiding may be a little bit thicker than this, so you need to put that into consideration. Remember, in our quantity of hair per size video, the first video of this series, I broke down how we divided the bundle of extension for small size. I broke down how we further divided one piece into the 5 pieces we need to feed in for small size knotless braid. So I normally like to feed in 5 pieces of small, very tiny pieces for small size knotless braids. So if you haven't watched that video, again, please go watch it so that what I'm doing here makes sense to you. I'm gonna start with our extension from the first video in this series. So this is the quantity of extension. I showed you how to get this quantity of extension from a bundle. I also showed how to divide it into equal 5s for our feeding. So now we have our 5 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is our 5 pieces of hair we're going to be feeding into this strand. And remember, from that video I told you, you feed in the smallest piece first. If you haven't watched that video, you might not follow on this one, so please go watch that video. So this is our smallest piece from what we learned on that video, so I'm going to show you how to feed it in right now. So the first thing you want to do is, after you get your parts, of which I've showed you how to get the parts, so just go watch that video, you need to apply your gel to the top to the bottom of the section you're working on. Then you need to comb. You need to use the edge of your comb and make sure that the hair is to the middle of the section. You don't want your knotless braid to start from underneath. You need to make sure that your knotless braid is centered on that section. So one of the ways to do that is just use the edge of your comb and mold the 4 edges of the section. Just a disclaimer here, we're using a dummy head, so this may not mold properly, but if you were doing this on someone's hair, you just need to use the edge of your comb and just mold. After you apply your gel, you mold, you mold, you mold. It makes it more flat. So when you have that flat base, the next thing you want to do is divide that section into 3. So you have your right strand, your middle strand, and your left strand. Make sure that you're dividing into 3 equal strands. If it's not equal, make sure it's equal, because that's something you need to be looking out for. So you have your right strand, your middle strand, and your left strand. So the way you hold it after you've divided into 3, with your left hand, you hold the left strand. Your index finger, your thumb is very important when doing knotless braid. So you see me holding the left strand with my index finger and my thumb. You need to do the same. On the right strand, I would hold with my index finger and thumb. So you hold it like this. So your right strand, your left strand, your middle strand. The next thing you want to do here is you want to cross your middle strand to the left. So to cross the middle strand to the left, You take your left hand, I'm grabbing the middle strand and I'm going to curve it like I'm curving it to the left. Hopefully you can see that. So I just curved the middle strand. You need to hold it properly. Make sure you don't let it go. You need to hold it with your index finger and thumb of your left hand and curve it to the left. So when you curve it to the left like this, then you take your left strand to the right. So now this is my middle strand now on the left. I have my middle strand on the left. My left strand is going to the right now. So now I'm going to take my index finger again and grab my right strand. So then you have it like this. So this is my left strand is now on the right. My middle strand is on the left. My right strand will become the new middle. So in case you missed that, I'm going to show you again because I really want you to follow every single detail here. So we start from our 3 strands. We hold this down with our index finger and our thumb. I usually like to put it in between my ring finger, this left strand. I'd put it in between my ring finger and my middle finger here so that I can free my index finger and thumb to grab this one. So when I hold it like this, I start by holding with my index finger and thumb, then I transfer it in between. So it goes in between here so that I free up this index finger and thumb and I can grab the middle strand. So when I grab the middle strand, I just turn it like I'm turning it to the left. As you can see, the middle strand is at the left here where my hand is. So I'm now going to take my left strand with my thumb and index finger to the right. So this is my left strand going to the right. I still have my right strand in between my ring finger and my thumb here. So I need to grab this right strand now to the new middle. So this right strand becomes my new middle. So once I do this once, I have my base. Now we're going to feed in our first strand. I feed in between my index and my thumb. As you can see, my index and my thumb. And as you feed in, you need to make sure that you're holding the root firm. So I'm feeding it here. Hopefully you can see where I'm going to feed it here now into this part that I'm pointing with my ring finger of my right hand. So I'm going to feed it in there. So now I fed in the first one. So now we take our second strand, do the same thing, feed into the index finger and thumb. So sometimes people like to braid twice before they feed in the first extension. For me, I like to braid once and feed in extension. The reason I do that is because I don't want the root of the hair to be carrying so much weight of hair that the clients start losing their hair. Especially if you're doing something like large size braids, you don't want to not feed in after braiding once. Feeding in after braiding twice would make the weight of the extension lie on the root of the hair. So there's no extension at the roots to hold the hair properly. So I like to feed in from the beginning. So I braid once and feed in the smallest piece. So we've done our first feeding, our second feeding, we're feeding it in. And then when you feed it in like this, you turn your hand and take this strand underneath. So hopefully that makes sense, because when I do the first and second feeding, I like to hold like this. The reason why I like to hold like this is because holding like this helps you form the firm base. As you can see, the base is very firm here. So that's why I like to hold like that. So after I feed in twice and I've gotten my firm base, I transition my hand to like this. So I'm no longer feeding into my index and thumb because my index is now holding my left side down. My thumb is holding my middle side down. So I have my right side and my middle, right? And I always feed in on the right. Some people like to feed in on the left, but I personally like to feed in on the right. So if you're learning how to braid and you're learning how to braid with me, I'll be teaching you how to feed in on the right. But if you already know how to braid and you feed in on the left, that's also fine. But I like to feed in on the right. So when I transition my hand like this, now my new feeding will no longer be my index finger and thumb. My new feeding will now be my index finger and middle finger, because my right strand is on there. The reason why I was feeding in on my middle finger and thumb on the first and second strand, because when you braid once, your right strand would be between your middle finger and thumb because of the way I hold when I start braiding. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I'm going to continue at feeding between index finger and thumb here on the right strand. I always feed in on the right strand, so I put it here in between, and then I braid. I make sure, as I do this, I make sure that the strand I'm feeding in is under. As you can see, that's the strand I fed in. Is always under the braids. So this is like an underhand braiding technique. So for the purpose of this video, I'm teaching you the underhand braiding technique. I find this technique to be to have more grip on the hair, to just be better in terms of braiding. So I usually do the underhand technique, and the underhand technique too makes it easier for you to tuck hair when you're working with colored hair. So now I'm gonna go feed in the fourth extension. Index finger and middle finger, same thing on the right side. On the right strand, you feed in, you turn. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Then the one you fed in is here. You make sure it's under, because you're doing an underhand. You continue braiding. Then now I'm going to feed in my fifth strand. I told you I like to feed in 5. So this is my fifth strand between my index finger and my middle finger. I'll feed in. Once I feed in the hair, I'll take my middle strand to the right. I'll take my right strand to the left and my left strand to the right. So it's the same braiding technique. As a beginner, something you have to remember is middle strand to the left, left strand to the right, right strand to the new middle. Your right strand becomes your new middle. So that's how you braid. That's how you braid your single. So always remember that once you have created your 3 parts, middle strand to the left, left strand to the right, right strand to the new middle. So now we've added our 5th extension. So remember, we took our middle strand now that way. Now we're taking our right strand to the left, so we just continue braiding. And as you braid, make sure you're holding down. So this is the underhand technique, like I told you. It helps you to like feed in and hide your colored hair. So as you can see, I didn't put so much black extension, and I'm able to hide most of the hair, even if the mannequin hair is quite dense, even if the mannequin hair is quite thick. So these underhand techniques help me tuck colored hair properly. Underhand is more like you're braiding like this, under, 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 under. Hope you're seeing my hand. That's literally what underhand is. So sometimes you may see, oh, underhand, overhand. Underhand is literally you're tucking everything under, under, just like what I'm doing here. Under, 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 under. So you keep doing that. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is basically how I get my small size. You can see it's small. So when you notice that your extensions start to thin out when you get to the tips, I don't like to just leave out the hair like this, right? Sometimes I see some people's braids and the ends are left out. I mean, some people like that, but I personally don't do that. So when the ends start getting thin like this, I'll take the two thinnest part, like these are the thinnest obviously. I take them into one strand. I make them one strand. Then the thickest strand I hold on the right side and I twist. So before I do a twist, I have to twirl each strand. So I twirl this strand to this side and twist, twirl, twist, twirl, twist. So that's how you twist: twirl, twist, twirl, twist, twirl, twist. So I just make sure I twist the ends. So that's basically how I lock the tips of my braid. So anytime I braid, I like to twist the ends. So this is how it usually comes out. You can see there's just a nice twist at the end. Hopefully you can see it. Usually comes out like this. So I just like to twist. I just like that tapered twist tips. And if you were doing the braids on a person, the last thing you would want to do after braiding is to dip the hair in hot water. The reason being that synthetic hair is usually stiff after braiding. So to reduce the stiffness of the braids, you need to dip in hot water. So yeah, that's how you get your small knotless braid basically. So now you see our small size knotless braids. You can see how they are equal, the sizes are equal, and that's because we used a technique to create the quantity of hair on our first video in this knotless braid series. The root of the hair is not looking very weak because I braid once and feed in from the root, because I don't want the root to be looking very thin or very weak. So that's the reason why I always feed in the smaller piece on the root. So if you're just joining us here and you're wondering how did you get the number of braids, please go watch our other videos relating to the parting, the first and second video in this series. So this is the third video in this series, so don't skip the first and second. Watch the first and second so you understand every reference I made here. You can literally see how the braids are the same size. You can see how they taper to the end and how I finished them up with twist at the end. And that's it, y'all. The full breakdown of everything you need to know about creating small size knotless braid. I broke this down using the quantity of hair for small knotless we learned in our part 1, and I also used the parting we learned in the part 2 of this series. So if you've not seen those videos, or if you missed those videos, I've linked it in the description box. Please go watch those videos as they are highly recommended if you're learning how to create small knotless braids. Something to note is that you have to keep practicing. You have to be patient with yourself. Don't stress over it. Trust the process, because the thing with braiding is that you need to practice and make mistakes lots of times for you to actually get the rhythm and get used to it. So please and please be patient with yourself and continue practicing. If you learned one or two things from this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please comment, subscribe. It really helps our channel out. Share this video with a friend who may be learning or who is trying to create small knotless braids. It helps YouTube recommend our channel. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one.